Hey everybody, we're back in high tunnel number 2 doing some more harvesting, and I wanted to give a quick explanation of kind of what's going on in here and the different things that have been changing. And one cool thing, which probably some of you know, but I want to talk a little bit about spinach and its regrowth habits. So if you're not aware, spinach is I'm not sure if it's a biennial or not. I believe it is. But in essence, it regrows and it overwinters. So our field production spinach is a crop that we usually plant in the fall or the spring. And we can get 1 to 2 harvests in the fall, and then it overwinters. And then in the spring, we can get 1 to 2 harvests off the same crop, which is pretty amazing that you're only planting it once and you're able to harvest it if timed right and the weather conditions are correct. You can get 1 to 4 harvests off one crop, one seeding. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the high tunnels and how we're growing spinach in here. What I've explained to you guys earlier in the season is that we were growing all these crops to get to a maturity date to be at a harvestable size by our 10 hours less of day length. Well, now, and with the atmosphere in these high tunnels and growing a crop such as spinach, which is actually really cold tolerant, and can handle cold temperatures, the warm 80 degrees in here throughout the days, even though it might not be adequate lighting, to grow the crop efficiently, the spinach is one of the few crops that are actually really growing, more efficiently through those darker months, if you will, darker days. But I wanted to show you something cool. So we have 2 spinach varieties we've been harvesting. One's an arrowhead variety. It's kind of funky looking leaf, but we have an arrowhead variety here, and then the other one's more of a savoy, which is over to my left. This leaf right here is harvestable. This leaf was harvested, or I should say this plant was harvested fully probably a month and a half ago. And it has regrown with the warm temperatures and the increased day length. This spinach bed has completely regrown to be harvestable again, which is awesome. And it's a cool experiment to like how much sales we were doing over the winter. And if this was only a one cut thing, we would have been sold out of spinach probably 2-3 weeks ago. But because the spinach is regrowing, we have one bed which we harvested first that we're about a little less than halfway through again. We're reharvesting, and then the bed to my left, I'm gonna hope we'll be ready to harvest in another couple weeks, maybe to a month. It's kind of smaller, slower growing, but this is lucrative to me. It's a crop that we've seeded once, we've only watered a few times, it's been fertilized once when we planted, and now we're going through and harvesting this again. And right now we're getting anywhere from $6 to $8 a pound for this stuff. So being able to harvest it twice again, we're almost doubling our revenue off. We are doubling our revenue off the same bed. Granted, the yield might be a little different. It might be a little off. We had some problems with germination earlier in the season. So kind of learning and mitigating through that. I did go through and seed this bed because it was light when I initially seeded. I went through and sprinkled seed in between and watered that in. And so that got established a lot later. So what we're doing right now is getting actually a lot of that smaller growth that's coming up from the initial planting that was kind of shaded out from the original leaves that had grown when they were seeded. But it's kind of giving us a good bump in yield with our second picking. It's giving a lot more flush of greens that are coming up out of that out of this bed. So that's cool to see, whether it was meant to be or not. So the end all is, yeah, spinach is an awesome crop. Great flavor, especially this time of year with the cold snaps and the freezing. Really brings out the sugar and the flavor in the spinach. And also we can get multiple harvests out of it to create a more lucrative crop. So I just wanted to give a quick overview of the bed of spinach I was just talking about. If you can see behind me, this is pretty small. Even though there's a lot of baby leaf in there, we had just harvested this in the past week now. And as I go along, you'll see the leaves getting bigger. And what I want you guys to realize is that what I'm showing you right now is a second growth of this spinach bed, which is completely ready to harvest. It might start growing a little too much if we don't get in here and get this harvested in the next couple weeks, but this is all new growth. This is all second growth of this same spinach bed that we harvested probably a month and a half ago. So it is pretty cool to see that we can keep rejuvenating crops out of here. And if we're lucky and if we keep this in here long enough, we might actually even get a third cut out of this. So our plan is to get some irrigation on this bed. That way it can get some moisture and start, pushing it a little faster. And with the warmer days ahead of us and the longer day lengths, this stuff's gonna push right along. So